Thank you, Aurimas, for the introduction. Hello and welcome. Nice to see you everyone virtually at the FinTech Week. Let me introduce the participants of today's panel. Tony Greenberg, he's the CEO of RampRate, as well as advisor and mentor for more than a dozen startups. He's also involved in the Lithuanian startup scene, and he helps startups navigate the waters of the United States. And JB Daguené, he's partner at 70 Ventures, and he has helped more than 60 startups to build and scale specialized sales teams, different kinds of sales support. Let's start with you, Tony. Everybody knows what kind of challenges we are facing today in the background of coronavirus and also other things happening in the world. And I want to ask you first about what do you see as the main areas that the startups need to look out for in terms of practicalities, in terms of what they can do first to survive and beyond.
Thank you for having me. I visited your town of Vilnius, the former hometown of several of my great-grandparents, and I got to know a wonderful culture and a wonderful group of people, and certainly an idyllic town. I think, relative to your question, we're able to take a look at what we call our challenges and actually look at them as opportunities. We have a choice as humans to choose fear or love or indifference. And my mode is anything that looks like fear, I try to look at indifference and figure out why that exists. In the current startup environment, and I mostly work for large multinational corporations, and we've just been working on the acceleration space. If an organization is taking it in as fear, they're going to not be relaxed and manage the current environment well. This takes realizing that this is a time of self-reflection and a self-reflection of our organizations and a repositioning and a thinking of how we evolve. We have to assume that we may always be in a pandemic or other crises are happening. So we plan for that. And I always take a look at the possibility of what is a company like without customers, and that's impossible. If I think about what's a company like without money, I think that is possible. Fundraising is something that takes a tremendous amount of time, and it's a singular focus. I haven't seen many companies, large or small, do a great job of that at the same time when they're trying to earn revenue from their customers. So I would recommend not only looking inside of yourselves and to figure out how you will evolve your company, but to decide whether you're creating revenue or creating fundraising. And beyond that, there's so many different opportunities that you can create with your customers. And if you don't have any, and you don't have any people that want to be customers, again, rethink your business. And finally, and more importantly, is that as we face these opportunities, that you stay cool as a CEO and you do your best to be a leader. And if you're able to lead successfully, your team will follow. If you're frenetic, frantic, and unclear about where you're headed, expect your staff to feel the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Great insights. I will definitely have follow-up questions to what you said, but before that, I want to...
Oh, no, you only get one. Just one question.
Well, let's see. I want to ask JB, building on what you said, Tony. I know JB, you're working hard and probably even harder right now with helping startups building and scaling the sales machines. What changes have you seen in the sales process? Because, as Tony said, a company without clients is not possible, even though it is possible without money. I think you're muted.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I muted myself to make sure there is no back noise, but yeah, great question and great insight, Tony, and I can definitely relate to that. And just a side note, I always used to say to startuppers that a startup without customers is called government. So if you are actually looking to build that, you are probably in the wrong place. But also, I mean, a startup. What I've changed in terms of sales process is also very related to what Tony was talking about in terms of leadership. What we see now is there is three types of decision makers or three types of influencers, no matter to who you sell, right? So they are the ones who didn't get any kind of negative impact from COVID, and there are a few companies like this, and luckily we are working with some of those teams, and obviously they are not the kind of teams we are focusing on, but for example, in fintechs, if you sell to banking, or if you sell like banking products, that we didn't see much change in terms of the meetings we booked, the project that were planned. A few of them have been kind of postponed, but I don't think this is kind of COVID related. But you know, the banks still need to run, and fintechs are still running as well. So luckily, a few B2B startups that operate in that space didn't have much impact. And when you are in sales and you are in front of customers, in front of decision makers or influencers that work for these companies, you obviously keep the same sales process as before. Then you have two other scenarios. You have decision makers or influencers or companies leaders that have a plan. They have a plan to go to COVID. They are looking at it as an opportunity, or they are looking at it as a challenge, but they have a plan and they are planning to execute, or they are executing it. And if when you sell, you can be part of the solution with your product, with your service, then it's actually a great timing. And it's very good to position yourself in that way when you talk with these potential customers. And then the other type of prospect that you might meet is the one that have no plans or the one that are panicking, and there is nothing you can do to help them. I just need to move on and basically just focus on the two first other type of customers, the one that are not impacted and the one that have a plans, and just go away from the one that do not have plans. They will just die. Or they will struggle even more, right? And I think this crisis will just kill the weaker companies and make sure that the one that were already, let's say, ready for the crisis and have the mental ability and motivation to go through it will strive. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing that changed is the new long term is Friday to Friday. Everything is moving and evolving so fast that we cannot make plans for more than 1 week, or maybe max 2 weeks. But in 2 weeks, I have no clue what the market's going to look like in different markets. And before that, I used to make plans and kind of sequences and multiple kind of touch point strategies with some kind of trade show in between for the next 2 months. We don't do this anymore. We do kind of sprints, like sales sprints, for like week by week. And according to how different regions are reacting, we basically adjust.
Thank you, JB. Tony, I will still try to get a bit more answers out of you, even though you have promised that no more is coming from your side. I really liked your insight about what is key, and the clients is the absolute must. Can you talk a bit more practically what it means for startup teams if they want to survive first, and then if they want to get the most out of the opportunities that do exist? You said that this is the time of opportunity. What practically they should do, what areas they should focus on to make the best out of it?
I have no hat on today, but when I'm questioned of this nature, I have to decide which hat I'm going to put on. I have so many hats. And if I were to put my hat on for a smaller company, I would put it on with who I partner them with, a large company like a Microsoft or an Intel or a Nokia or any large multinational corporation, Verizon. What I'm looking for with that hat on is that a team is eager and curious and doing their best to fit in to my day. What happens is when you're wearing the hat of a CEO of a small enterprise, you tend to think that your day is more important, or your product or your service is more important than theirs. And what they're trying to do as the big fancy executive in the large fancy firm is make themselves a hero. They're there to also have a great time and a great day and to enjoy their interactions with you and your team. So the first thing, as we've been handed this human element of no contact and no touch, is to not gush about your COVID experiences, but to be able to create an environment that makes them excited to talk to you. Learn about your customers' personal interests. Learn about what makes them a hero at their job. Figure out which points of time are best that they want to be contacted and how. Figure out a book that they may enjoy and send it to them. Realize that while they're Mr. Fancy Pants or Mrs. Fancy Pants, that they get to choose who they allow to have in the day. And if you start thinking about them more as a human and care about them in that way, you'll find an entirely different framework for discussion. And to be more linear on the side of the startup hat is find out the way your company can impact their company and or impact your community and or mostly and impact the universe. There's this far cry these days of I want to help the world. I want to make the world, change the world. Well, I don't want anybody to change the world. I want to make my environment and my people and my community and my business day better. And if everyone has a better, more positive, higher vibrational day, the world becomes a better place. And what that becomes is a place that's devoid of friction and problems and evolves a company into what I call natural revenue. That which comes to you because you deserve it, and you've created the products and services to scale for guys like JB that can help you make it happen. So keep your eyes on the prize of having a better day and a better conversation. And in the same way that JB said, we're going from year to year and month to week, study each and every minute that you have every day and make sure it's optimal. And at the end of the day, look at the list of the things that you did and ask yourself, how can I do better tomorrow? Thank you.
Great tips. Thank you, Tony. JB, if, as Tony said, I would come to you. Let's imagine I'm a startup CEO, and I come to you as an expert, and I want you to help me to make it happen. I'm saying that the sales have stopped. I'm really struggling to find new clients. What would you advise me to change or to pay attention to in terms of sales? What do I need to do to make it happen, to be able to sell? Is it a mindset change? Is it, I don't know, I need to hire more people or sell differently? what would be your advice to me?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. This question sounds like April to me. That's what I did all April. Basically having conversations with CEOs and sales leaders that were exactly in that situations, right? Where we still finish March strong because we still have a pipe, we still have commitment, and we start April in a way that I've never seen, right? So my whole let's say expertise is to help founders to make sales funnel predictable. And one day, the world became unpredictable, right? So I kind of also myself didn't have all the answers, but what we did is mostly apply common sense, right? We before starting sales, before COVID, we were very much like Tony said, trying to be under the skin of our customers, right? Trying to understand what kind of KPIs they have. To be basically, like Tony said, the hero of the companies, but also as simple as that. Like even if it's B2B, people buy your services not for personal reasons that they like you or what, but because you will help them to achieve important KPIs that help them to basically become the hero in their company, but also simply or sometimes just to keep their job or to get the bonus. But nowadays, it's a bit different with the COVID-19. So what I will do, I will look at, am I targeting verticals that are directly impacted, like industries that are directly impacted by the effect of COVID-19? Or am I targeting verticals that are indirectly with the waterfall effect impacted by the COVID-19? And if so, can I adjust? Can I focus on different kind of verticals? Can I maybe target bigger companies in the industries? And also what we have seen is before, let's say we used to contact manager level, like influencer level instead of decision makers. And what we realized is that all the budgets have been frozen by management, by top management. So now we are actually contacting top management and positioning ourselves as part of the COVID-19 solution, if we can do so, right? But then basically use all this common sense and have this very day-to-day approach where you can be much more agile on going to market, and speed is extremely important in these days, right? And the other metrics that applies to B2B sales are still the same. There is, when you go to market and you do B2B outbound sales, there is only 3 reasons why you don't get meetings, and it's the same in COVID. It's either you are targeting the wrong type of companies or people or both. Your outreach message or your outreach kind of strategies is wrong, or the timing is wrong. And now we know that timing is wrong everywhere, right? So we need to acknowledge it and kind of talk about it when we reach out, but still focus on having the number 1 and number 2 criteria, which is the list and the outreach, adapted to that situation, and obviously try to adapt until we still kind of have meetings. And we have done this with many founders and many sales directors. Some companies are back to normal in terms of sales. They are having the same result they were having before COVID, and some of them are just recovering. But all in all, it's moving in the good directions. Meetings are coming back, offers are coming back. The pipeline is getting stronger. So we can see that this is working, and it's just again common sense and speed.
Great answers. Thank you, GB. Tony, I would like to come back to the beginning of our discussion and what you said, that this is the time of opportunity, not just a time of challenge. And looking back to the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, and the years after, we have seen quite a few very large and famous startups that were born. They are large and famous now, but they were born during that time. It's from WhatsApp to Groupon, Instagram, Uber, Pinterest, Slack, just to name a few. And it clearly shows that besides the startups that go belly up or scale ups or other companies, there will be most definitely those that will be born during this time. Can you name some examples, or maybe you see some trends or some areas where the opportunities are still available this time, or maybe they're coming up because of the crisis?
I have to quote a mentor and friend of mine, William Quigley, who runs Wax, and he was a venture capitalist, co-founder of Idea Lab. He's a no-bones, no-nonsense guy. There's a trade organization he speaks at weekly, mostly a men's club, sorry, ladies, called Metal International. I'll send a link around. He funded over 500 startups, developing the incubator plan with Bill Gross for Idea Lab, and went on to create many, many, many companies, including firms like PayPal. He's been in the crypto space for a while and an all-around brilliant guy. With that experience, he said there's only two particular things that he found as a thread of success and a thread of commonality between all the companies that he started. One was that they were in a market where the wind was at their back. There was inertia. That was the first thing. Now, he could say a great founder, he could say great funding sources, he could say great technology, but he said, no, it doesn't matter where you're at. If there's wind at your back, you're going to find your purpose. The second, he says, the more a company is starved for capital, the more innovative they become, the more powerful they become to themselves and to their customers. And so, while not being able to clearly tell you that you ought to do a video startup so this happens, new forms of communication that take out hassles or problems, remove issues from people's day that allows them to live more relaxed, are any businesses that are incredible. Any place where efficiencies are found. Now, while I wasn't around when the internet was born, or maybe I was, there was hundreds and hundreds of companies that were trying to do WYSIWYG software, or hundreds of companies do this, that, or the other. And it wasn't a better opportunity that they came out for those things. There were companies that created margin release in businesses, a new way to sell things, a new way to buy things, a new way to make my day easier. And so of all the companies that you mentioned, those were all B2C companies, or they service millions of users. It's unfair to speak like that to a town of Lithuania, where you have successes like NordVPN that dozens, if not hundreds of millions of people are using. The smallest kernel of truth or technology that enables the world to be a more fluid, more friction-free environment is a place to spend your time. And I'm not going to give you all the secrets of the vertical markets we're studying. You can read about those online. But I also recommend that you take a look at Mary Meeker's prolific deck on the management of COVID. She's a wonderful analyst that speaks the truth and speaks the future for almost every type of technology company in the world. There's our U.S. Guard helicopters coming over my head as they do. So Mary Meeker, M-E-E-K-E-R, and she'll drill down in a far better way as where there is inertia, and you as your individual will dig in deeply into yourself and figure out how you can live in a starved capital environment. That ought to point you in the right direction. Let me know how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, for your cryptic message. Speaking of the scarce capital, I want to ask you, JB, I know that you have multiple times said that the best investment is sales, that your sales is the source of the money for your company. But still, I want to ask on behalf of those companies who for different reasons, not to survive most probably, but to scale, to release new products, and and for other needs are still have a need of raising capital during these times. I know that there have been quite a few investors who are saying, yes, we're still investing during the pandemic as well. We have not stopped that process, and your company 70 Ventures is one of those. But at the same time, we're hearing from some startup founders that even though the investors are saying they're investing, a lot of them are adhering to this let's wait and see what's happening next strategy, and they're not so eager. Of course, there are objective reasons or objective factors such as lower valuations that startup founders need to be aware of. But I'd like to hear your thoughts about investing processes during this time, and also for the foreseeable future, even though we cannot foresee it, unfortunately.
Yeah. So again, I think it's a good question, and the way we look at startups right now, I mean early stage, which is the space we invest, which is of course even more impacted than scale up or large companies that had a large round right before the COVID happened. It's a difficult place to be. And now when we look at startup, we look if their product is COVID compatible. I mean, can they be part of the solution for some companies that during the COVID period? And also we look if they are recession proof. Obviously, COVID will also let's say depends to who you listen and who you talk with, but there is high chances that in some market a recession will happen for quite some time. So we kind of look at these two criteria, and we actually not only look, we actually talk with the founders and ask. So what kind of ideal customer profile can you target during the COVID-19, and how many conversations you had with them already? What's your plan to have more conversations, and how do you expect to be part of the solution after COVID when the market's in recession? Can you help companies to grow? Can you help companies to save? Can you help managers to be more productive with less resources? And having these conversations with founders is basically helping us to find out if there is a potential fit with the new market situations. So that's the first thing. And then when it comes to investing, what has been very, very difficult for us, and we were talking about this before we jump on the conference, is basically the social due diligence, right? We in early stage invest in people even more than later stage. I mean, there is very little traction or no traction at all. And we need to trust that these people will be the one that deliver basically the vision, and will be able to react to whatever challenge they might face during this journey. And having a dinner on Zoom and a glass of wine or beer is very difficult, and in our experience. So having less opportunities to go to conference and meet people in live has been a big slowdown with the pipeline and moving on with some of the opportunities we had or finding new ones. But again, we have participated to some of the conferences like this one online that kind of help. And luckily, Lithuania and the Baltic countries are kind of ahead in terms of reopening the market, and will be able to travel soon to different places. So hopefully that will kind of help to kind of catch up. And in the local market, nothing has changed, right? So we were since quite some time now, we're able to meet again founders and to sit down and have some workshops, have some dinners, and move away. So I think since the COVID-19, we made at least 3 or 4 deals where we invested in early stage companies, right? So far so good.
Thank you, JB. Still have a few minutes left, so I would like to hear from both of you some parting thoughts, remarks, and other things that maybe you want to touch upon. That something that we haven't talked yet. So Tony, for the word goes to you. If you still have some additional thoughts, the floor is yours.
I got involved with this conference due to my work with a firm called Noia, Noia.network, and a wonderful passion-driven entrepreneur who's always looking for inertia at his back. This particular company is a jewel in the eyes of myself, its peers, its competitors. I was introduced by Agna, who is working for this lovely organization. And I'm happy to report that the most brilliant thing that Dom and his team did is they reached for the stars and they found the best possible humans to surround their company with. They were punching far above their weight 9 or 10 months ago when I met them. Sorry, the sun's coming in. And for instance, Dom was able to connect with a wonderful luminary and entrepreneur named Bill Norton, who is the co-founder and chief scientist at, let's see if this, there we go, co-founder and chief scientist at Equinix, which is one of the world's largest data center companies. He managed to figure out by hook or by crook to get Bill on board. It managed to get wonderful Lithuania funding and funding from other funding from other parts of the world through his association with people that were connected to powerful organizations, such as myself. They made a list all the time of who are the people that will influence their company. And be it a sales call or be it a financing no, which is, by the way, the opportunity to create something wonderful and send an email and a thank you note or a book. Not thanks for your time, but let me read back to you what I heard. Your things that you shared with me allowed me to be on a path to have a better company. And they've always done this post-sale and continue to keep those no's as investors as friends. And this has created a wonderful environment where people that they were involved with, individuals I introduced them that may have helped fund them, they keep them in the loop weekly, every 10 days, every couple weeks. And they just do a magnificent job of post-sale, post-meeting, individual human-to-human contact. And Dom's just a fantastic entrepreneur. I'm super excited to be a part of their organization. The second thing I'll say is, you see this? I hope it sounds good. It's a Plantronics headset.
I think we lost you, Tony. Can't hear you anymore. Yes?
It's a perfect environment to show that the headset works better. And if you're going to get on the phone so rude as to be on a speakerphone, so rude with background noise, if you're going to be disrespectful to the people that you're talking to by not having a wonderful environment either in your background, no offense, JV, you look great, then don't think that they're going to give you the respect that you deserve. I cannot tell you how many phone calls that I get on where companies that are small are talking to powerful people and they're rushing through an airport. They're not paying attention to their background. They don't have a headset on. In some of those cases, if I'm monitoring the call, I just say, call over. Disrespect happened. We're going to redo it. So be honorable, be respectful to your surroundings and yourself. And you'll notice an amazing transformation in the connection you have with your target clients, partners, board members, and investors. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. JB, floor is yours.
Right. So I just want to say that I'm a huge advocate of seeking discomfort, right? And I always seek discomfort in my personal and in the professional environment I'm in, but I guess I was in a way in control of my discomfort. I was choosing my limits. And when COVID happened, I was totally out of control. and that was really not comfortable. That was a lot of discomfort. But then what we have achieved in these past weeks and months, and how we have adapted on the speed we have adapted everything, hell, we grew. And I think that that's just the way you need to look at it as well, is that you only grow in discomfort, and this is a time to grow right now, and we can see this happening with many of the great entrepreneurs we are working with, and that's really amazing to be part of that growth, basically.
And seeking discomfort is the name of seeking discomfort is also the name of a wonderful YouTube artist. And they sell T-shirts that say that, but if you listen to the messaging on their seeking discomfort, it rings very true. I think maybe JB had seen that.
Gentlemen, it was a really great pleasure talking to you today. We had Jean-Baptiste again and Tony Greenberg with us. Thanks a lot for your thoughts, for your advice, and thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Cheers.
Go Lithuania!